This film has been produced to provide information about Schwartz Rounds. Typically in a round, 3 or 4 speakers talk briefly about some experiences they've had in their work, specifically where there's been an emotional impact. The rounds are a unique opportunity to reflect upon the impact and meaning of our work, to see things from different perspectives and to show compassion for our patients and for our colleagues. We have chosen 8 people from our organisation to describe some of their experiences of rounds.
I was persuaded to go to a Schwartz Round by one of the matrons that I work with. Always thought there were more for the clinical staff and the nursing staff, but realised very quickly when I attended one that they're for all staff groups.
Schwartz Rounds are completely different to anything else at work. There's a lot less focus on the facts of the situation. It's more to do with the emotional aspects of our role and how that affects us. So rather than why something happened, who did it, what happened, it's about how did that make us feel and how can we change our work based on that.
If you haven't already been along to one of the Schwartz Rounds, I would suggest you do get along. You don't have to talk. You can sit at the back and listen to what people have to say. It's your opportunity to listen to other people's experiences, and it may even provoke you into telling your story to other people's and help you deal with what you've had to experience in your working life.
The atmosphere at the Schwartz Round is a safe place. You feel comfortable, although the room is quite busy because they are events that a lot of people like to attend. I would say when the speakers are presenting their case, the focus is on the speaker and you're not distracted by other things. When the speakers have completed their stories, it's turned out to the audience, so they're given an opportunity to speak. And I would say it's very well facilitated in a sense that each member of the audience who does choose to speak, again, you're not distracted by the hustle and bustle of the room. The focus is very much on the person who wants to speak in the audience.
The atmosphere in the round was definitely a supportive one, and without kind of alluding too much to the conversation before, it was definitely kind, and people were there all wanting the same thing. I found that it was definitely an environment where you could say what you wanted and not be judged, which was good.
I think after being to a few rounds, you soon realise that the pressures that other healthcare professions are under compared to you, and I think you can be a lot more empathetic towards other people in the hospital and what challenges they face after you've been to the rounds and you understand what they're going through.
When we attended the Schwartz Round, we hadn't realised, it was nice to go and listen to other people, doctors, nurses, other admin, because we don't interact with many people. Yes, secretaries, yes, but we don't interact with doctors and nurses as much, so we don't know what they go through, and they probably don't know what we go through. So it was nice to find out what goes on in other people's lives when they come to work.
Ever since my first involvement in the Schwartz Round about a year and a half ago, I feel like I manage more complex and challenging patients in a very different way. Prior to the round, I hadn't really ever considered the emotional impact of my job on me. I knew that my job was difficult, I knew that everyone's job was difficult, but I hadn't ever actually really thought about how your emotions could have an impact on how you do your job. And I feel that in the NHS and healthcare environment, we're not maybe very good at acknowledging the emotional impact on our daily jobs have on us. I feel like your non-healthcare friends may say to you, "How was your day today?" And you go, "All right." But you don't really maybe go into any more detail about the fact that maybe you had to deliver some life-changing bad news, or maybe a patient you've been really heavily involved with had maybe died, or maybe just even a patient or a relative or somebody who's really, really struck a chord with you and really got to you. I think Schwartz Rounds are a really good opportunity for you to challenge yourself to look at your role in a different way and potentially express or think about the emotional aspects of your role.
I think sharing the issues that you face and understanding what your colleagues face, and from people in the labs, that you don't realise the impact that it has to somebody who's in the background working in the support services, what they're actually exposed to as well as the frontline staff. So that was really important to hear their stories.
I felt relieved. Sometimes you can feel like you're the only one who feels like that. We all have difficult situations at work. I think in our role, sometimes things can get on top of us, and it was really comforting to hear and see the other professionals show their emotions, to show their feelings and their more vulnerable side, and listening to the cases that stuck with them and knowing it's normal to sometimes have things that stick with you. It was an opportunity for the professional hat to come off and for the person to show how they felt and acknowledge collectively that it's okay to feel like that.
It has given me appreciation that there are more people in the trust, and their needs and the patient needs are just as important. It's very easy to get stuck into your own little bubble and your own little world because of whatever the pressures are, but actually to realise that other people have equal and sometimes greater demands has been a very useful thing.
It was really emotional, and you don't realise the impact your job has on you until you get up and speak and tell people about it. And the support what we got from members of the audience, our team, who sometimes we shelter from some of the more difficult cases we deal with. They learned what we do, a little bit more what we hide from them. But the overwhelming support what we got from the audience during the round and when it was finished was just amazing. And you forget that there's people out there who you can seek help from.
Initially I thought, oh yes, that'd be fine, it'll be a doddle, I'm used to standing up and speaking to people. But what I hadn't taken into account was the emotional journey that was going to take me along. Because there's lots of things that I do in my everyday job, supporting families, that suddenly I was going to have to share with complete strangers about how that actually made me feel. And that makes you feel a little vulnerable and a little bit exposed. But actually working with the psychologists and the fantastic support that we had from the other Schwartz leaders, we sat in a room with 3 or 4 other people, some of whom I knew, some of whom I passed in the corridor but didn't know who they were. And we just sat down and realised that although the 4 of us sitting in the room were from completely different backgrounds, having different roles, we were talking about the same subject matter, and our thoughts, feelings and emotions were very, very similar. As a speaker, when I sat there and spoke to the audience, it was incredibly emotional for me to share my thoughts and feelings, and that connection that then had with the audience, and seeing people in the audience crying with me, feeling sad with me, laughing with me, was very emotional. It makes me feel goosebump now when I think about it. If you're thinking about being a speaker, I would say definitely do it, because it just gives you a chance to think about the emotional aspects of your role. Particularly for me, in a non-patient facing area of the hospital, I don't think we reflect enough on how our job affects us, but we really should do that more, and it does help you think about the emotional aspects of your work and how you can improve the way you deal with things.
I found the preparation for being a speaker really challenging, and by that I mean because I had to make myself think about the emotional aspect of my particular situation at that time, and that's something that I absolutely hadn't done up until that point. It was also incredibly fascinating in becoming aware of the fact that my emotions could have such an impact on the way that I was clinically working. I found the support I got from psychologists incredibly beneficial, and the whole process in hindsight was really cathartic, and it's absolutely changed the way that I manage my day-to-day situations.